I think we are in time. So I would love to invite like the public to come closer. We have enough space for everyone. This is going to be a very dynamic and I would say a little innovative presentation, so please bear with us as we try to make it work. But I already heard that that's more than welcome here in the Refit Summit. So I hope you are wrapping up a great conference so far. And yeah, first, for the record, we are going to be recording this session. It's going to be available for everyone after the summit. And today we have a very interesting event. We're going to be talking about international food waste reduction and what we can learn. So we are going to be taking some lessons coming from the international experience. We have representatives here from the Netherlands, Brazil, and there's going to be a panel from Mexico. We are going to be learning about their work through food waste pacts. Maybe you can be familiar with the one here in the US. The Food Pact is a public-private partnership in which the different stakeholders that participate in the food supply chain organize around solutions to address food waste that can go targeting manufacturing, but certainly also with the suppliers and also at the retail level, and also providing an opportunity to interact with final consumers. So it encompasses the whole chain, and obviously it opens the door for collaboration, but also identifying opportunities to intervene where it's most needed and more catalytic. So I'm Nicolas Diaz. I'm in representation here of the Global Methane Hub. I'm going to provide like a very brief pitch on methane. So you have been listening about methane being like one of the benefits and opportunities around reducing food loss and waste. It's certainly part of the climate crisis, and obviously as the second largest GHG, it is accelerating the heating of the planet, but it's doing it at a rate that is quite problematic at a time in which the finance is mostly directed to carbon emissions. So methane has like an 80 times global warming potential, like bigger than carbon dioxide, and has contributed to roughly 45% of the net warming experience to date. So we have a big imbalance, and food waste is part of that. Food waste, as we heard it yesterday, in the case of the US, is about 1/4 of what's being disposed of in landfills. And we have learned in the recent years, coming from the US EPA report, that roughly half of the methane emissions from food waste are not captured with the best technology that we have to date to deal with landfill gas emissions, because they degrade so quickly. So obviously that makes a big case for methane action, but certainly on food waste reduction. So I don't want to spare more time. I would like to briefly describe the session for you. We're going to have a quick discussion with the Brazilian representatives here. That's going to be a 10-minute presentation. Then we are going to open the floor for a Q&A session. We're going to do the same, presenting on the Netherlands experience. And finally, we are going to end with a panel from Mexico. So yeah, I will love to give the floor to my Brazilian counterparts. Please.
Thank you, Nico. We have some slides. I don't know we can share.
Do you want to? Yeah, the green button.
Oh, you and the. Okay.
And the next one.
Again, the next one. Oh,
Wonderful.
This is me and Alcione, the Brazilian team. So good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. We'll talking about a little more about our country, our amazing country that is Brazil. It's a short overview, but we can talk more later about it too. So why does Brazil matter? So this first context about our country, we have a huge biodiversity. We are one of the hosts of the greatest biodiversity in the world, and including the Amazon, that is one of the most important biome in the world too. We also are one of the biggest producers and exporters for food. So this is mean that every change that we can make in our food system is a huge impact in the global level, including the biodiversity preservation, reduce the emissions, and we also have a social role in this part because the last year we had the notice that Brazil is outside of the hunger map, but we are facing still a huge number of the food security in our country. At the same time, we are wasting and losing a lot of food too. So in a few years, in recent years, we are in the strategic moment in Brazil. So last year, our government with multi-sector partners, we launched our second national strategy on food loss and waste reduction and connect between climate, waste, food security, and circular economy, and was a big moment in Brazil because we passed like 2 years constructing this document, so it was very significant for us. Also, Brazil is one of the signatories for the Global Methane Pledge, so we have the commitment to reduce our methane emissions, and the waste sector is the second one that we can have more methane emissions, so we need to work on this subject. And in the end, for all these communities is a really good moment in Brazil to construct partnerships. So one of that is Brasil Sem Desperdício. Our voluntary agreement that Nicole said before is a methodology for a platform multi-stakeholder. And in Brazil is led by REP and WWF Brazil. And we have amazing partners like Connecting Food as well. So we are constructing this movement in Brazil now to achieve these systemic impacts. Here is our signatories, is the companies and the organizations that are with us since the beginning. So we already have big companies with us that made the community to reduce food loss and waste in our country. Just to finish, I want to share that Brazil has this huge potential to increase the actions. So every investment, every partnership that we increase, we can achieve global targets. So we are in the good moment to scale our actions there. So thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alcione Pereira. I'm founder of Connecting Food. Connecting Food is a food redistribution social company in Brazil. We've been acting for more than 10 years, almost 10 years, actually. And it's really interesting how managing food redistribution has taught us about how to deal with food loss and waste. And through food redistribution, we could act more broadly in our food loss and waste environment in Brazil. So Connecting Food is directly involved on contributing with technical knowledge and acting directly with a lot of partners to help reduce food loss and waste in Brazil. We are really, really proud of what we've been reaching for the last 10 years, yeah? And we brought 3 main points. It's so difficult to have 5 minutes and say about what is the most important thing to share with the audience. So I did the exercise and I brought to you 3 main points that I would like to share, and I hope to inspire, and then we open more broader conversations about, is that, first of all, food redistribution is really, really important. I always say that while we are here, talking about government policies and other initiatives, people are going hunger every day. Mainly in Brazil, that we have huge numbers of food insecurity. We need to be here on this room, but people outside there must have food on their plate. So food redistribution is in our heart. It's something that runs our everyday life, and food that is good for consumption cannot be wasted. So food redistribution gives a lot of opportunity for people, but also for us to learn more about food waste and then opening space for other initiatives. And saying about that gave us the opportunity to work with WWF and RAP. Proudly, we are working with these amazing partners and working with some companies, the companies that Luisa has presented, and to implementing the TMA methodology in Brazil. So we are launching a journey for measuring the food waste in companies and learning a lot with our colleague Sana has teaching us a lot of her experience as well, and how we implement this, the importance of measuring food waste and how to show the results about that. We are just beginning our journey in Brazil with Brasil Sem Desperdício and all this TMA and all this journey with RAP. It was just launched last year, but we are really focused on how to show value to the companies and the people that are involved, that get things measured and have clarity about what is happening on the supply chain is really the first step to generate value and to reduce food loss and waste and so on. So we are in the beginning of the TMA implementation journey. And a third point that's really interesting that we've been doing in Connecting Food in Brazil is that we are implementing food loss and waste diagnosis in different states in the country. So we've just finished our second state, and basically we diagnosed the hotspots of food loss and waste in the states. So we raise where is the food is and where is the demand. So we've just finished a big project in Ceará, project together with Pacto contra a Fome. It's another big movement in Brazil. And we can deliver the numbers to the governments to implement food security policies and how they can put more effort in certain regions that has more potential for food waste, for example. So it's not the whole region that has a potential for food waste. So with this kind of studies, we can say that to the governments, okay, put money there, put efforts, infrastructure, and this and that region, and then you can capture in a more quick way that food. So we've just launched our second state diagnosis. So basically, just giving a resume of that. So food redistribution must be in the heart of working with food loss and waste. While we are here, people are going hunger. We need to feed people while we are building in a more mid-term, long-term strategies, yeah? It's important to diagnose where food waste is and also to engage companies and governments to this journey and the importance of placing resources and policies for reduced food loss and waste in a general, more broader point of view. Thank you very much.
Let's give them an applause. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you, Alcione. I would like to invite the public, if you want to share any questions, comments on what we just heard. The room is open. Otherwise, I have a prepared set of questions here. So let me know if you want to jump in. So the first one goes like this. So what does the Brazil Against Food Waste Network, so Brasil Sem Desperdício, measure the success of its initiatives at a national level? And maybe relating to what you were speaking about, how this addresses not only food security, but many other benefits that can be of the interest of the different stakeholders that are part of the pact. So, yeah.
Thank you, Nico. This is a good question, actually, because we are in the beginning, so measuring our success in a short time is a challenge. So first of all, we are looking for different areas in food loss and waste. So we have different types of to reduce, like we are looking to innovation, we are looking to prevention, we are looking to the education, and also the measurement itself. So we are mapping the actions with the companies, with the government to understand how we are in this moment and how we want to achieve in these different areas. But in the medium time, in the long time, we also want to have like a KPIs for quantitative and qualitative to measure this success too. Connecting Food is doing an amazing work, making these diagnoses with the companies to understand the matter. But I think that's it. We are in this moment to construct these success KPIs.
Wonderful. And yeah, that there can be a lot of ambition and also needs from many of these stakeholders that see an opportunity for the pact to advance in their agendas, like let's say shared agendas because of the public-private collaboration approach of this. And obviously making this mapping exercise, it's a necessary first step for sure. And as you advance with that, I wanted to ask you about if you have identified any political or fiscal bottlenecks that are still preventing the private sector in Brazil from donating more food.
Yes, we have a challenge on how to build a more welcome environment in Brazil to stimulate not only food donation, food redistribution, but also to reduce food loss and waste itself, yeah. And it's a long discussion between us, yeah, because why you should have stimulate companies to donate food instead of, you know, giving more fiscal. In Brazil, the discussion about fiscal incentives is really, really hot, yeah, because the government doesn't want to give more, let's say, money for stimulate companies for doing that. Should be like an obligation or an environmental or social obligation, something like that. But we know that we need to find some kind of balance, yeah. We need to stimulate the companies from one side, and the other side, the government has their role as well on bringing more structure, laws and legislation about how to facilitate, yeah. I believe that in our work in Brazil Sem Desperdício, we are creating a room, a space for this kind of discussion and to get it easier to have all the actors, all the stakeholders putting on their table what it's important for them. So it's less about the conversation what's the advantage for a sector or another sector, but how we can, as a society, discuss about this issue and to find out the best solutions for all. Yeah, it's the way that the movements are so important to have this kind of conversation. It's a long term. Yeah, it's not easy. A lot of people, everybody here works with this team, but we are willing for creating room and space for this kind of discussion. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that reflection. And I wanted to ask you about the collaborative aspect of this. This morning we were meeting in a room where representatives from Mexico, from Netherlands, Brazil, were sharing about like how to approach food loss and waste reduction through collaborative work nationally. I don't know if you want to share like some key lessons, takeaways coming from the REFED Summit that you are thinking now in bringing back to Brazil?
First of all, for us is an honor because we are part of two big networks, so the RAP network, the Food Pack network, so we are learning a lot with the other countries. We said that we are the baby pact. Now it's a child, more or less. But we are learning a lot with the experience. So Alcione mentioned, but also our colleagues from Mexico. So we are not starting from zero. This happening in Brazil too. So we have other movements in Brazil that supporting us. And we also are part of other big network, this WWF network. So we are learning a lot with the US Food Pact, the other countries. I don't know if there's someone here, but oh, Pete is there. Thank you, Pete. We are learning a lot. So ReFed is a moment, but we are learning with the other countries all the time. But ReFed Summit is very important to us to bring innovation to Brazil. So we are here to understand what is the things happening in US that we can bring to Brazil in the tropicalized moment. So we have good meetings, good panels. So thank you very much to be here. Thank you, Jackie, too. I'm looking at the people in the crowd, but we are bringing a lot of information in Brazil, also the things that is happening new that we can share there.
Wonderful. Well, let's give the Brazilian representatives an applause. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to move now to the Netherlands, so the other side of the world. We have here San representing the food pact there. So yeah, over to you. We have 10 minutes for the presentation and then Q&A.
Thank you very much, Nico, and also really happy to be here to see many food waste friends. Some feel almost like family, and also a lot of new faces, and I would love to meet you all. I have 10 minutes to share 10 years of experience from the Netherlands. This is going to be challenging. I'm so counting on you, Nico, to be my timekeeper. So, the Dutch story. Rest assured, don't worry, it's not that we have solved food waste. We are working on it really hard, and I think we're doing great things. But the Dutch story is actually one of what we call food system orchestration. And that means actually that we bring together governmental direction with ownership of businesses. We bring consumer engagement to the stage. We work with NGOs. And we try and create a movement that combines all this into what we call a national infrastructure that can help reduce food waste. And why is this then actually relevant for this audience, for you? Why is it relevant for mainly US here, but also representatives from other countries? I think it's because many of us are in the midst of moving from that isolated, independent, parallel actions to a more integrated, coordinated effort at national level or sometimes regional level. And in many ways, that challenge that we see in Europe, where the Netherlands is situated, resembles the challenge that you see here in the US, for example, with a shared ambition at a supranational level, which would be the federal government in the US, which would be the European Union and the Commission in Europe. But implementation runs on a different level. That runs through counties, states, cities, businesses, schools, communities. And in Europe, that direction is then set by the European Union. But they say, like, we have mandatory targets, for example, firstly adopted in worldwide. That's amazing. And we have harmonized measurement and reporting, which helps a lot if you are a relatively new national infrastructure and you're trying to build that. So we have a lot of direction in terms of policy. But what matters, actually, is not only policy, because it's about implementation. And in Europe, that implementation happens at member state level, and we don't have 50, but we have 27. They all speak different languages, different culinary traditions. It's like chaos, policy chaos. So we're slow and thorough in this space. We've been going at it for a while. And in the Netherlands, the implementation infrastructure is the organization that I get to represent here. So that's Food Waste for United. We're about the same age as ReFed. I think my colleague Tuan and Dana talked early days about how to approach this. So there's a lot of similarities there. In the Netherlands, our pact is a public-private partnership. So we represent over 100 stakeholders from the food supply chain. But what we are actually trying to do is build an ecosystem where businesses, government, researchers, NGOs are continuously working together on the same type of data towards the same goals. And that is actually something that we have learned, and that's also the big insight I want to share with you today. Move away from those individual actions towards a more coordinated infrastructure at national level. That is where acceleration happens. And I have 3 sub-insights that I want to share with you, the best of the Netherlands, basically. First one is about measuring, but not measuring for compliance. Measuring is actually changing behaviors, and that's something we all need to be aware of. We do that in the Netherlands in a very sector-specific, consistent way, in trusted coalitions of competitors, very often, for which we develop tailor-made templates that deliver them relevant, industry-relevant data. It makes it easier for them to capture data as well. And it gives you the potential of benchmarking. So we can actually show what good looks like in retail, or in meat processing, or industrial bakery. And that is an interesting psychological process, because it has moved food waste from the sustainability department to procurement, to operations, to finance, to leadership, C-suite level. And it creates a dynamics that allows you to move towards action. And that's also what we talked about. Like, you can have insights, you can have data, but what makes it actionable? And I'll talk more about that later. And I often also hear at ReFed that what you can't measure, or what you can't manage it, but I would like to argue actually what you cannot have visible in terms of waste and loss, you can't mobilize a system around it. So beyond measurement, it gives you the insight as to who to bring together to solve it. So second insight, oh, by the way, all these templates, we share them, you can use them, let me know, that would be great. Second insight, voluntary agreements, voluntary collaborations can move faster than legislation alone. I know Europe is very heavy on policy orientation, and that's also the image that we have. But many of the gains that we were able to deliver in the Netherlands actually happened through voluntary public-private partnerships, and they can move markets. They reduce supermarket food waste in the Netherlands, industrial bakery waste, circular animal feed. We had a great session here this morning. I was so happy to hear that some of the learnings that we have developed are being applied here by some of the great innovative companies, and that we can also learn and exchange with the new task force that has been set up on that topic. And one of the topics I would love to just highlight for you is our date labeling coalition. I know you have legislation being stalled at the moment. Hopefully it comes through. We are still waiting for our legislation, which has been stalled for 4 years now, on this topic. But we have been able to discuss with industry that this is preparedness if they move in advance towards where the legislator is eventually going, and harmonize date labeling, but also put effort into clarifying date labeling and putting look, smell, taste icons on front of pack. And that's a growing coalition, and that's an example of that legislation and direction through policy is needed, but businesses and coalitions can move much faster. And the US Food Waste Pact is having these kind of working groups. They are building that infrastructure as the organizations, my colleague organizations, are doing in Mexico and in Brazil and across the globe. So that is really good use of limited resources. Third insight, consumer behavior is not an awareness issue, it's a systems issue. We've been going at it for years. We have a consumer behavior change program for over 10 years, and we first focused a lot on education and awareness. But that's putting it on the shoulders of a consumer. And consumers do not act in isolation. Most of their behavior is influenced by their environment, which includes portion sizes, package, promotions, date labels, supermarket, retail practices, how your kitchen is designed, social norms, digital tools, and everything in between. So that's where we should be working if we want people to feel that it's normal to prevent waste and that it's easy to do. So the question is not how we educate consumers. The question is how we change, redesign their environment in which they enjoy, cook, buy, store food. So as a closing statement, what is most exciting for me about coming to ReFed has actually been that increasingly food waste reduction is becoming this rare space where it all aligns. Climate, food security, affordability, methane reduction, business resilience, consumer benefits. And we can make that happen, but no country can do this on their own. We've tried, believe me, same as UK, it's impossible. We need you. We need to align on measurements. We need to share those solutions and best practices faster. We need to build those trusted public-private partnership across the globes. And together, that means that we can make food waste reduction possibly the fastest, scalable climate and resilience solution of the decade. And that could be epic. So I'm so much looking forward to be on that journey, to continue that journey with all of you, and to get much more people running with us. So that's the Dutch story. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So many lessons from your experience. I was thinking of the legislation as like the stalling phase, then comes regulation, and then comes implementation. So it's a whole journey. So I kept thinking of that, of how important the voluntary agreement and the partnership is, not only to like conceive the concept and the idea of like what needs to be passed, like through legislation, for example, but also as a continuous process to make this happen. So I would like to invite again the public to share any comments, questions about what we heard just now. We have a space like for 2 questions, so yeah, we have someone there.
Bom dia, Luísa. Bom dia, Alcione. Tudo bem? I live in Rio de Janeiro, and I wanted to ask, where do you see the most opportunity within the food chain for recovery? And maybe at the same time, what might be some of the biggest barriers to that?
Okay, we can address that question maybe from the experience of the Netherlands and Brazil.
Oh, difficult question. Bom dia. I think I will start and you complete me. I think the first, in Brazil, we have a lack of data. So we have some suppositions that where is the problem, but we don't have data exactly to see, oh, this is the hot spot in Brazil. So this is the 1 million tons that we waste every year. So we are trying to work on this issue. Also, we have a difficulty to engage the primary sector. So we know that there is a lot of loss in the field. So it's a difficult sector to engage for our agenda. So food loss and waste is very related to food security. And this sector is now see them in this agenda already. So we're trying to engage them too. I'll see.
Yeah, in terms of this, the supply chain hotspots, it's exactly what Luisa said, that we don't have visibility exactly about the numbers. It seems like Brazil has a number between 55 million tons and 70 million tons of food that's being wasted every year. But I think the big challenge is to put the team, the topic, on the center of the discussions together with the companies and governments. Yeah, we happily had last year launched our federal strategy, which is a really, really important step. But if you consider that we got this last year only, of course, we have a lot of room for improvement in Brazil. But having the food loss and waste and the conversation table between the whole sectors, I think is the main challenge nowadays that we've been working together to put on food loss and waste on the stage. Yeah.
If you want to address that?
Yes, that's a relevant question for the Netherlands as well, as many of the food pact challenges are actually more similar than they are different. I think biggest gain that we could have in the Netherlands is at fresh produce. So those would be losses quite close to the land. And we are currently setting up a new collaboration with our Netherlands food banking network to see if we can put in, again, national infrastructure to actually transform these fresh, delicious, healthy products into shelf-stable components that could then feed back into donation and redistribution efforts. Actually something that some of our partners in Mexico, for example, are already doing. But in the Netherlands, that would be new. Food would always be donated. Food banks wouldn't pay for food. But this is a new way to actually address farm losses that we will always have to some extent and put that good food in the hands of people that are in need of it. And that is actually also the case in the Netherlands increasingly.
Thank you for the question. And I have a final question for Sana regarding if you could transfer one lesson, like one key takeaway from your experience in the Netherlands to the US, like thinking of like tomorrow, what would that be? And vice versa, what do you think Europe can still learn from initiatives from the US or Brazil and Mexico?
Well, I did do some back-of-the-envelope comparative analysis. What I would definitely take, lift and shift, steal, borrow, whatever, if I could, is the data intelligence that ReFed is having. The amount, I think the Netherlands might have some of the best data in the world, but we're so not as good as ReFed as disclosing and sharing and making that data accessible for decision and action. So that I would steal straight away. It's coming in my hand luggage on the plane. What I would have on offer is the system orchestration part. So really designing, having all these efforts that are taking place and of which we see the best and the most beautiful cherries at ReFed every year into a full-blown programmatic approach, really connecting and accelerating that. And I think that's something that we respectively do in all our countries. And we are doing that globally through, through the quality time that we get to spend within the food pact meetings that are conveyed by RAP. And that's giving us all opportunity to accelerate and learn. So I mentioned it during breakfast. After ReFed, I feel like I had a work spa. I feel refreshed, I feel inspired. I go back home with new energy. So that's amazing.
That's the idea, wonderful. Let's give a final applause for this panel. Thank you. We are now going to open the floor for the Mexico panel. So we are going to do that as much as in order as possible. We have some limitations here in the chair, so please bear with us.
Great. Well, everybody's getting settled. I'll just give a quick introduction. So my name is Mackenzie Campbell. I'm Director of Impact and Innovation with the International Community Foundation, which is based in San Diego, close to the US-Mexico border. And we're so grateful to have this space at REFED to think about the interconnectivity of food systems across borders. Mexico contributes around a quarter of the exports into the United States. The decisions that we're making binationally impact our water security, our food security, tourism, the economy. And we've been investing over many years, around 35 years on the border, to think about how we can support the enabling conditions to support movements. And food waste and loss is one that's very close to us. So here we have an amazing set of leaders that are working on different enabling conditions at a national and a regional level to really advance the movement. And I'll hand it over to Hannah.
Wow, this is a dream come true.
Really is. I think it was 2006 when I was in the highlands of Guatemala walking by abandoned carrots that the US market had commissioned to the general global south and then abandoned. And I thought I must study international food business and I must solve this problem. And for the last 10 years, the Betsy and Jesse Fink Family Foundation have been supporting my work, going in and out of working on the border with Nogales and studying cross-border produce rescue opportunities to support the US's food security and Mexico's food security alike. 77% of our fresh produce in the US comes from Mexico. Mexico is feeding our country. It is feeding it through markets, and it is feeding it through food banks. And just that alone requires that we take on co-responsibility of a shared food system. The people that work in our food system here many times are from Latin American descent. The learnings that we can harvest from how Mexico is addressing food waste to build on the culinary arts and the traditions and support the communities in our country and the US to learn from that binational approach is really, really essential. So thank you to REFED and thank you to the International Community Foundation and the Betsy and Jesse Fink Family Foundation. The Baja Roadmap is an effort to bring together the different global, national, regional, and local organizations into a strategic approach to developing a regional roadmap. As a gleaner in Maine, the national roadmap that REFED developed was amazing. It was a start. It didn't necessarily activate the kinds of relationships and connections at the regional level in New England that we needed to accelerate food loss and waste work. So my idea is to have Baja Roadmap be a proving ground for the global farm loss tool, for Hotel Kitchen and RAP's International Food Waste Coalition strategies, for Lean Path, for technologies that are interested in looking at how to implement across borders, while also becoming a ground-up process for connecting through a strategic set of data collection, convenings, pilots, and documentation processes to be able to land that strategic roadmap in front of different sectors like farms, fisheries, hospitality, and organics. So these organizations today, I was supposed to go last, but I went first. We sat in the opposite order, so yeah. I now get to hand it over to you to tell us about the work in Mexico. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you. I am Selena Lencastro, and I am the CEO and founder of CIPRA, which is a consulting firm specialized in circular economy, but also food loss and waste. So along the journey, we have developed about 30 case studies and projects related to food loss and waste that have led to important, not only national movements, but regional ones in Mexico, as later on Gabi is going to talk related with this in Baja. And also, we have been working along the whole food supply chain, thanks to people like Brian Lipinski, Pete, that taught us a lot of things about how to conduct a real methodologies, real projects, you know. So these kind of spaces are super important to us to learn, and yeah. So based on all that experiences, as I was telling you, we have been working along the whole food supply chain. Also, we were working with important partners because we are not alone. We are not doing this only by ourselves. Of course, it's not possible. And I was talking to someone, to Ivy from Ghana. Like, it's very difficult to try to convince in a developing country people to move forward this agenda. So these kind of spaces are so inspiring. So based on all this work that we have done so far, it's like we have been able to move this agenda forward, and also we are so honored to be the technical arm of Pacto por la Comida, thanks to GRAB that has brought funds to create these case studies in which in hospitality, for instance, and in retail, we have been able to reduce about 30% food waste, but also having savings about, you know, like what they were saying at the very beginning, this is a matter about money. That's sad, but it is the way it is, right? So we were also able to verify that they were having economical savings about $50,000 per year. So it was great. And, you know, it was in retail and hospitality. And with WWF, we were also working in primary production, same results with very, very clear pathways that this is something that we would like to continue. And actually, today in Mexico, we are also working, you know, like, since we don't have such a good real regulations, we are working in creating a standard with a local NGO, you know, trying to move the stakeholders interested in this topic, saying at least you're going to receive a badge if you are doing good things. And since we are having different methodologies and different things, we consider it's important to create this kind of standards in order to be, you know, more like tidy, yeah? Yeah, so we are doing that. And also thanks to Posner Foundation, through Pacto por la Comida that I was telling you, we are super honored to be the technical arm of them. Later on, Claudia is going to tell you about this. It's like we were able to conduct more than 2,000 households measurement in Mexico in 12 different states. It was direct, but also indirect measurement, you know? So when it comes to indirect measurement, it's like people don't want to be seen as wasters, so they are saying that they are producing much less quantity of food waste from what they are really producing. I hope I have been clear enough in my English, okay. Yeah, so so far, we have also been participating with the Senate, the Mexican Senate, and which I'm feeling super proud of it because they are already inviting us to be part of the conversation about public policy, you know? So I hope I have been inspiring you, you know, like, even though we are coming from developing countries, this is not an important topic yet for them. We have capabilities to move this agenda forward. It doesn't matter if we are coming from poor people, or poor or rich countries. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It is my English test today, so thank you very much. Well, I'm going to talk about the voluntary agreement in Mexico. The name is Pacto por la Comida. It's a food pact. We born, and I was listening 10 years. You started 1 year ago. We started in 2021, so we are in the middle. And we have, and I think that the interesting part of our pact is that we have the support of RAP, but we are based in a Mexican food banking network. No? So sometimes it's the difference, and I think that it could be very interesting for other countries that sometimes they don't have a near relation with the food banks, and maybe we could have this kind of bridge. Our Mexican food bank, they are about near of 50 food banks in Mexico, and our food pack, we have today, we don't have 100 companies, we have 11 companies, and we need to say the reality. It's very difficult because sometimes the companies, they are huge, but sometimes we are working with people, not with companies, no? So maybe we could have data some years, and the next year, the people that they are having the data, they are in another company, no? So they are this kind of challenge that we know that we say, it's only in Mexico. No, we saw in Brazil, we saw in Netherlands, we saw in US, no? So that's the interesting thing about this network, that we can be sad, but sometimes we are happy to have the same problems, no? At least. And our goal is to promote this multi-sector coordination, no? We have now a very good, and like all the countries, some years we have a very good relation with the government, then we don't have it. And that's the reason that we need the different actors, like government, academy, industries, because we don't know if the next year we are going to have a very good ally in the government, or maybe the next year is going to be only with industry, no? So we try to have this kind of cooperations to accelerate about food loss and waste. And for us, we have some advances. You know that now with the NDC 3.0, some countries, only 30, they are going to put some data about food loss and waste. Mexico, we are going to give that data. And we are very happy because we have this approach with the Ministry of Environment. No? So at least we are part of the picture in this moment. And for us, like a food bank, is a very good news for us. And about the laws that it was talking for Selene, now we have two general laws. One is the circular economy. We are waiting if we are going to put something about waste, not for food loss. And another, we have a general law of sustainable food. It's the first one, it's the first law that they talk about food loss and waste. So for us, it's a very good news about to try to have this and try to develop policies, public policies. And for example, even this year we have an event in the Senate, and for example, on September, we are going to have our annual event, the 29th of September, in the Chamber of the Deputies. No? So now we think that at least we have a voice, and we have a national campaign with the support of the Posner Foundation. So, for example, we are looking some materials about the soccer and the World Cup. So they are some materials that we could exchange maybe with the part of the Latinos public in US or in Canada, no? So try to share this experience for us is really, really amazing. And we are continuing to seeking partners and funders to generate information. Why? Our general data from Mexico, they have almost 10 years. So we need to promote, to generate new information. And we have the support from Rainier Climate and RAP to have new measurements on hospitality that is going to talk about Gabriela. And that's the reason that we are looking. We are a national platform, but we need to see how we are going to be implemented in every state, every city, and that's a challenge. And that's the reason that we are very happy to share these lessons with you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So I work with ASA, that's the short name. The long name is Baja California Sur Food System Alliance. It's a long name, but it's beautiful in Spanish. So we are a local NGO that worked in the region to transform the food system, and we do that through different strategies. So we work with regenerative agriculture transitions, and we also work with Pacto through the food bank, BAMEX, and we also address food waste and loss. So based on the findings that with the study in collaboration with CIPRA that we made in 2023, we found out that 25% of the region waste loss was due to hospitality sector. So if you think about it, Baja California Sur main economic entrance or very important sector is tourism. We all know Los Cabos. We go to vacation there, so it's really a very important sector, and it creates 25% of the waste loss. So we needed to address that. I lost my notes, so so we needed to address that, and we started last year a pilot. CIPRA was the technical arm for this project. RAP through Pacto helped with the funding, and we achieved great results. We worked with 2 hotels, local hotels, and they achieved 20 to 25% reduction on the food waste, and also they achieved from 18 to 20% economic savings. So that created a great movement. It created traction in the region, and that allowed us to come back for a second prototype. We're doing the second prototype this year. We're trying out. We're working with WWF and RAP, trying out the methodology to explore and to have a more diverse options. And so we're very excited. We're dreaming big. We want to achieve Baja California Sur being the first tourism region without food loss. I know it's a big dream, but we have to dream big. We can't waste time. We have to dream big. So yeah, hospitality is a very big thing in the region, and we're ready to address it. And we're very thankful for you to be listening and supporting the efforts we do in the region, and glad to share the experiences and the expertise and the technical strength that we have in Mexico. Well, thank you for the space.
Good morning, everybody. It is a dream come true. Congratulations, Hannah, what all you're doing too. I'm Roberto Rodriguez. I got the bless, and I'm really grateful for being part of a really enthusiastic team of professionals who are co-creating this beautiful program that I'm in. So I'm happy to share to you. Today and every week in Mexico, perfectly fresh produce is left without destination. Not because it lost quality, not because people don't need it, but because the system was never designed to move surplus fast enough. And at the exact same moment, millions of families here and across North America continue struggling to access fresh produce. That contradiction stayed in my mind for years. How can food be treated as waste while hunger still exists? For a long time, food recovery was viewed mainly as a charity. But what we are learning is so much bigger than that with this program. Food waste is not only a social issue. It is a logistic issue, it's a coordination issue, and ultimately it's a system design challenge. Because that reality is that our food systems is already interconnected. Produce cross borders every day. Markets are interconnected. Supply chains are interconnected. And environmental impact is interconnected. Yet many recovery efforts still operating separately. And that is why we create Cross-Border Produce Rescue. This is the first binational initiative connecting agricultural surplus in Mexico with food recovery networks in both Mexico and in the United States. And something powerful happens when systems begin coordinating instead of operating separately or independently. Surplus stops being waste, and it becomes value. Value for growers, value for our communities, value for food banks, and value for the environment. Now, every week and today, truckloads that once has no destination in my country now feed families instead of landfills. And what we're learning is that reduction food waste will require more than good intentions. It will require shared responsibility, cross-border collaboration, shared infrastructure, and better alignment across the food system we already share. Because maybe the real opportunity is not only rescuing more food, maybe the opportunity is redesigning and how our food system collaborates, how collaborate across industries, across organizations, and especially across borders. So thank you, and I'll be happy to talk and connect after this panel to talk about more.
We're in time. Well, so thank you for coming in. We're leaving some information for if you want to connect with our fantastic pact here. And we have 15 minutes now for networking. We can use that time to connect with one of our fantastic speakers. And yeah, just to thank you again for your attendance to this exciting event. So thank you again. Good luck for you.